So you've probably been told that your 20s are supposed to be the best years of your life, full of freedom, full of opportunity, full of chances to enjoy yourself and relax. But see, no one talks about what this decade brings, which is the anxiety, the confusion, and the random thoughts of, what am I doing with my life? See, if you're like me, you probably went to university and wondering what on earth you're going to do after you graduate. Perhaps you're working and you feel quite overwhelmed and also feeling underqualified. And then to make it worse, when you go home, you're just doom scrolling whilst you're seeing videos. You're just doom scrolling while everyone else appears to be getting on with their lives and seems to be winning according to what you see online. But then but see, this is the thing. You've been told your whole life to get good grades, get a degree, and now you're wondering, was that it? What's next? So by the end of this video, you're going to understand why that feeling of wanting to go back to the good old days hits so hard in your 20s, why loneliness feels heavier now than probably at any other point in your life, and how to start navigating this decade with a little bit more clarity. I'll share the shifts that I wish 20-year-old me knew that would have saved months and years of overthinking. Picture this: at school and at university, you had a timetable, a clear structure, exams, results, move forward. And you also have friends as well who just happen to be going through the exact same thing as you are. So it builds that sense of community and you're just enjoying the ride together. But now you've got no structured timetable, you've got no syllabus, you've got no milestones and no obvious next step. And this is what I've learned, right? After you graduate, you don't miss things like lectures or hanging out with friends. You actually miss knowing where you were and having that structure in your life. See, this is the feedback loop that goes on in the real world. So you're at uni, you work hard, you get grades, and you feel some sort of progress. One assignment is done, okay, on to the next. And it goes that way for 3 or 4 years. And in your 20s, this is what happens. You work hard, you maybe get recognized. That's about it, and maybe not. You apply to jobs, you get ignored. You try something new, and you feel stupid at first. And this feedback loop is slower, and that creates a lot of doubt because you don't know whether or not you're going in the right direction or if it's even worth your time. Hear me out. I finished uni thinking, okay, now what? Now what? I had a history degree. I'd been presenting since I was a teenager. I had tried to build my network through LinkedIn, and I still felt completely lost after I graduated. And if you're like me, and like you may have done or be doing right now, I applied to hundreds of jobs after university, just hoping that one would stick. Everyone said, just apply, just network, and you'll figure it out. But no one tells you how it feels when the thing you were good at, aka being a student, doesn't really matter anymore. And just to add another layer onto this, you're also like me, who grew up in a minority household. Our parents' generation, no. And if you're also in your 20s like me, then you will have realized that our parents' generation, generally speaking, had a clearer path. They get a degree, they get a stable job. That's it. And, back in those days, you could stay at a job for 10, 20, 30 years. And it was all right. And we were told that if you follow this same blueprint, then life will figure itself out and you'll be calm. But we all know that that's not how it works nowadays. A lot of us, including myself, have followed the rules, but yet a lot of us also feel that we're getting left behind and that we're stuck. And especially if you're in a minority household like I grew up in, that pressure to need to succeed just always built as the years went by. And you saw it from maybe not your own family, but from people around you. And that gap between the expectation and the reality, that's where that nostalgia lies. But there's another aspect to this nostalgia conversation that we really need to talk about. And that's the matter of loneliness. You see, you can be in group chats, be at the gym, surrounded by people, and yet you feel completely alone. And this is because a lot of conversations, they stay quite surface level. Sports, memes, work conversations, what's on Netflix. But rarely, as guys, do we say to ourselves, I feel a bit lost. I'm a bit overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. And again, especially in our South Asian communities, and in fact, in a lot of our communities, whatever your background, men aren't really supposed to talk about this. You see, you've got weddings, achievements, announcements, and you're trying to find your place in all of that. It's not easy. And then there's the version of you that nobody sees. You see, I've always been the friend that people come to with their problems. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'd listen, I'd hold space, I'd try and help, but I didn't have that for myself for a long time. Bottled it up, journaled about it, and I don't really want that for you because that's not really a flex. What makes it worse is when you go online for half an hour, 45 minutes, and you're just scrolling and you see someone who's launching a business or who's, made a lot of money, or maybe they're even flexing about it. Maybe someone's getting engaged. And again, you kind of subconsciously put your own timeline subconsciously you kind of compare it to your own timeline in the back of your mind. And maybe someone's traveling in, I don't know, Istanbul, Bali, New York. Meanwhile, you're a bit broke, unsure about your career, wondering if you're behind. And that gap also creates a bit of shame, and that holds you back. You see, there's a famous quote saying, "I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death." And that anxious fear of standing still energy, like a lot of us carry that, but we're running without really knowing where we're going. We're just on this treadmill that keeps spinning. And trust me, a lot of guys feel this and they just hide this behind jokes or gym selfies. So when you shift this to talking about your career, right? Obviously, when you're in school or at university, you don't even think about this stuff. Like, we're focusing on playing FIFA and COD and trying to beat each other. Like, we're just focused on trying to have fun and playing games like Halo and COD and trying to see who's better at FIFA in our year group, because that wins like proper bragging rights. But you see, when you start working, there's a whole nother layer of anxiety that just comes up on you. Think about it like this. You want to make good money. You want to do work that's meaningful to you. And you don't want to waste your potential. Because that's one thing that you've been told from, that you've got potential, you've got what it takes to do something with your life. But you also don't know, unless you're perhaps a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, what industry fits you. You don't want to go down that wrong path. There are even loads of medical professionals who then end up feeling that they may have gone down the wrong path, especially after they've sunk 5-6 years into that journey. And it's that fear that, you feel like you're stuck in a job that you don't enjoy, which kind of kills your soul. So you delay. Delay fuels that anxiety. And that anxiety, in return, keeps you stuck and in more delay. I've had multiple job changes, layoffs, and it's been brutal. And I've had those low moments. But I've also built up several skills and experiences through that kind of tricky part in my early career. And there's always been that thought inside my head of, am I building towards something? That uncertainty doesn't help, but it actually, weirdly enough, helps you build a lot of skills and teaches you more than any kind of stable, normal job ever does. So then on the flip side, you go online and you're seeing content about investing, crypto, side hustles, making money quickly online. And part of you thinks, okay, that's the answer. But you're also just trying to pay rent, feed yourself, and trying to enjoy your life as well. So where's that balance? Hustle culture, it sells you the dream, but it doesn't show you the reality. That reality is a lot of sleepless nights and just uncertainty about whether what you're doing is actually worth it or not. And that's where it's boring, it's slow, and it's full of self-doubt. You're always going to be doubting yourself when you're in that boring middle phase between actually having started a business or a side hustle and then seeing it take off or having to shut it down. That middle bit where you're working on it. After that initial enthusiasm, that's the boring part no one talks about. And that brings in an identity crisis, because in school, you've got labels. Like, for example, you might be the smart one, you might be the athlete. But now you have freedom. You're in your own little bubble in this whole wide world. And there's no clear sense of identity in that. So then you ask yourself, who am I actually? What do I stand for beyond what I do for work? And what if I never figure this out and I'm just stuck forever? See, A lot of guys are trying to two things. Number one, their values and purpose and what they want to do in life. And for me, that's where religion kind of gives that proper grounding. But then there's the other side, which is the career or the hustle, the ambition, the worldly goal, and wanting more, which is a part of human nature. And that's where it's not a weakness. It's just the clarity that you're trying to build. And it's especially important in your 20s. See, reflecting on my purpose through my faith has been one of the most interesting things that I've done. Not in a preachy way at all, but just in terms of getting a little bit more clearer on what I want to do in life and how I want to go about achieving it. And then also the final part of this puzzle is that no one properly teaches personal finance. And the thing is as well, online, it's so hard to find people who teach genuine personal finance. Bits and clips of advice on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And you're feeling that pressure to invest, to save, to build wealth, and this hustle culture content coming at you and all sorts of other pressures while you're trying to figure out your career at the same time. And it's a lot, and it's okay to say that. So here's actually what's happening. And I want you to kind of reframe your mindset towards this. So your 20s don't come with an instruction manual on how you should go about it. Not one size fits all. You're growing, you're missing the fact that friendships were a lot easier to come by. Things in your day-to-day life just used to happen and you didn't have to think about it too much. You just got on with it. Time felt slower. And that loss is real, but it's also about taking that next step and making space for yourself. Space for something that you choose and not something that you kind of consign yourself to. So this is the first main decade, your 20s, where you build yourself. How do you build yourself? Your body, through things like going to the gym, keeping fit, working out, going for regular walks, eating well, eating right. Your career, through trying to learn new skills and being open to pivoting your career and getting a foot in the door at a job. Your friendships, the one that survive your teenage years, the new ones that you build through interactions that you have in your life, and the ones that really uplift you and give you real benefits in your life. And also your identity, which is often shaped by experience, and it's not just grades. So as an example, after my 25th birthday, I realized that from the years of 21 to 24, I actually didn't really do much with my life, and it just felt like I was drifting. So I made a more intentional effort to embed experiences into my life. So things like skydiving, playing paddle, and traveling to places like Istanbul. Not for the content. I don't post any of that online, but more because of the experiences that you get that really make your life a lot better. At the end of the day, when you're old, you're not going to remember how much money you had. You're going to remember all the experiences you had in your life. Another important thing to realize is that wealth and status, they come and go. The thing is, experiences remind you that you're alive and it helps you connect with the world in a totally not so cringe way. It's the small moments that matter, right? When you go for a nice long walk on a sunny day, spending time with your friends, these are the things that matter. Spending time with your loved ones, these are the things that matter. So what I'd say is go out of your way to try and collect those moments, however big or small. And it's a very intentional thing that you can do to improve your life. But also, I'm going to be very honest with you, there's a lot of reframing that you need to start doing. It starts in your head. So instead of thinking to yourself, bruv, I'm behind, just think, nah, I'm still early in my process. I think I'm still early in my journey. I think what we fail to realize is that when we're in our 20s, we've still got a lot of time to build something for ourselves. There are people who are 40, 50 years old who wish they were in their 20s again, just so they could do things a little bit better. In our 20s, this is the time to build the right habits and build the right mindset that will help in later decades. And instead of what I find a lot of people at this time in our lives do is they kind of just say to ourselves, like, I miss who I used to be. But instead, you should kind of say to yourself, trying to become someone new, trying to become a better version of myself, and really focus on that part of the self-improvement journey. And then also, everyone else has it figured out. This is a really common thought trap we get ourselves into. But in reality, what you see on socials every day is just a small little snippet of someone's life. You don't see the inner thoughts and the struggles that they have. Don't get me wrong, it's not that everyone else's life sucks and everyone is portraying a fake life, but you find that a lot of people are trying to hide their pain through social media and validation. And then you need to start taking some action to progress one little bit at a time. So don't try and fix everything at once, because I promise you, you're going to burn out. Don't try and improve your mindset. Don't start trying to build a business and build a strong body and also work on your mental health. No. I'll just say, you will get burned out if you do so. I would say pick one core pillar. So whether that's your fitness, your finance, your career goals, pick one and really try and improve on that. Start working backwards from the ideal version you want to be in those respective areas and try and work a path through today to get towards that. Now, as you go on, you probably will quickly realize that you can actually focus on your finances and your career and your fitness at the same time, but all in moderation and not all at once at the start. Also, try each week to do one little thing that's uncomfortable. You know, maybe you go to the gym and don't wear headphones, but use it as a chance to talk to one person at the gym. Or maybe you do that at a coffee shop. I don't know. But try something uncomfortable this week. Doesn't have to be big. But then also send one message to a friend who you've probably not spoken to in a long time. It creates it's a bit difficult to get out that hump to do it. But when you do it, you sometimes feel better for it. And the reason I say these things is because momentum and taking action is actually the cure to overthinking. And it's something I'm slowly realizing myself. It's not about motivation and finding perfection. And so look, if you're feeling overwhelmed, stuck in your own head and directionless, and really experiencing that nostalgia wave and loneliness, then trust me, that's not a character flaw on your part. It's just part of growing up in our 20s and suddenly realizing we have a lot more responsibility to take for ourselves compared to any other points in our lives. The people who come out of this decade well are not the ones who, quote unquote, had it figured out. It's those who keep moving, keep experimenting, staying honest and building the right support for themselves. And that's exactly why I offer free calls with you to help talk through any confusion you've got with your career, your goals, and what's actually holding you back. No rubbish, just a real conversation. And so I've got the link in the description to book a call with me today. And if you want to find out more about how to start building a better life for yourself with some more lessons I've learned in my life, you're going to want to watch this video right here. Peace out.